every time we failed to get our visas approved. And eventually, my parents were already living in the States. They had come here legally. Eventually, they had to make the difficult choice of bringing us here through a coyote, a smuggler. I had to try 5 different times. 4 times we weren't able to make it to the Mexico-U.S. border. I was in, every time I was detained in Mexico, put into a prison, and I had to wait for them to fill up a bus of Honduran illegal immigrants to be deported back to Honduras. The detention centers in Mexico are literal prisons, and I don't know if how many 9-year-olds you may know or kids around that age, but I don't know if you can imagine them being in prison with adults, with men and women, and sometimes we had to be there for days, for weeks, sometimes longer. The 5th time we finally made it to the Mexico-U.S. border. I almost drowned at the river when we were crossing, but one of the Border Patrol agents actually jumped into the river and saved me, and that's one of the reasons I'm here, alive. Fast forward, since I came to, I'm from Durham, North Carolina. Since I got to Durham, I always knew I was kind of a criminal. I felt like I was an illegal person. After being in prison and in detention centers for so many times, I was afraid of any police officer. I was afraid of anyone in uniform. Immediately struck fear in me, and I couldn't share my story with anyone. I couldn't tell anyone I was undocumented. That was a very scary thing to do. I thought that if I did, I would be immediately deported. It wasn't until I was about to graduate from high school that I dropped that fear. One of the reasons was because I felt a lot of pain. I had believed in the American dream since I was a little boy, and I had worked really hard in school. I had volunteered a lot in my community, and I thought I was doing all the right things. I truly believed that. I thought that if I were a good student, a good citizen, that it didn't matter that I was undocumented, that I didn't have a social security number, that I was gonna go to school, and that was my dream, to go to medical school, and that's what I kept my mind to. And when I was graduating from high school, I couldn't go to school, couldn't go to college, and I felt like the American dream was all a lie. I felt cheated, and that really hurt. That was heartbreaking, and I felt like I wanted to be in this country, but people in this country didn't want me to be here, and I felt that I had been trying so hard to stay here, and it was like, why am I trying so hard? Maybe I should just self-deport and go back to Honduras. I thought I was going to do that, but in 2012, when I graduated from high school, President Obama announced the FAR action, and that was the sole reason I stayed here. I remember very clearly getting on my knees to pray and asking God to give me a sign, because I was going to go back to Honduras later that summer after not been there for like 10 years. And I asked, I need a sign. Tell me to stay, tell me to go. I don't know what to do. I was afraid. I was just 18 years old. I wanted to go to school here in the U.S. and I did not know what to do. And believe me or not, the next day, Obama announced the FAR action. It was scary. It was amazing.